In this special economic report, we're examining if the life expectancy would increase to 150 years, what effects it would have on our way of life. Three major effects that we've identified would be overpopulation, air pollution, and depletion of resources. First up is our junior correspondent, Chimdi, who's coming to us live with the resource depletion.
Thank you, Spencer. I'm here at the tar sands in Fort McMurray, Alberta, where extraction is currently at a maximum to accommodate the increased demand for many products. The increased life expectancy has caused a large population boom. This is now beginning to take a large toll on our resources. Global resources are depleting at a very high volume, and this has a lot of officials and citizens concerned. Malnourishment is now starting to become a problem, and the less developed periphery states are the ones being targeted by this problem due to inadequate distribution of the resources that have now become very scarce. Insufficient food supplies and the lack to produce genetically modified food is causing for widespread malnutrition in the area. Deforestation has also taken a dramatic increase, not only to accommodate but also to increase farmland in order to increase the production of grain produce. Farming uses more fresh water than any other human activity. The growth in population is driving all of our resource problems, including water, and the increase in the need for water for farming. There will soon not be enough to sustain normal current living standards. With so much water being extracted from fresh water sources such as rivers, some rivers are virtually dry by the time they reach the oceans. Industry, public, and private use have the supply of water running low, and this is not a resource that can be modified or created. It can only come from the God-given rainfall. Furthermore, fossil energy, which is a finite resource, its depletion is accelerated as human needs for food and services increase with population. The decline in per capita use of fossil energy, caused by the gradual decline in oil supplies at their relatively high prices, is generating direct competition between developed and developing countries for fossil energy resources. And this, as we know, is leaving the less developed nations in turmoil, as they do not have power to compete with stronger nations. Unequal distribution for many basic needs is occurring as the markets are being flooded with high volumes of demand. Those with lower reservation prices are unable to attain certain products because of the leftward shift in the supply curve, as inputs in many products have decreased. As we can see, the cause for concerns in this situation are very well merited, and we can only wait and see what can be done through technology and through our own personal preservation of resources in order to make our situations better. I'm Chimdi Okorie, reporting live from the tar sands in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And back to you, Spencer.
Overpopulation caused by our aging population will affect our society in many ways. First of which is urban sprawl, which would occur as population gets larger, will require more land for uses like housing and roads, etc. We'll also have larger strain on our agricultural systems, as the amount of land we have is only finite, but as the amount of people increase, we'll have to feed more and more mouths. And our other natural resources will also be depleted. Service Canada delivers over $62 billion annually in benefits from the Canadian Pension Plan and Old Age Security to millions of Canadians. Shifting demographics of an increased life expectancy and a higher population would mean that we'd be unable to support the current level of delivery. Level of delivery would have to be throttled back, or our economy would crash from overtaxation. In recent years, the Canadian federal government has collected $220 billion in taxes and other revenues. By contrast, the $62 billion that Service Canada gives out in Old Age Security and Canadian Pension Plan is a significant portion. While Canadians older than 65 account for less than 14% of the Canadian population, they consume nearly 44% of all healthcare dollars spent by provincial and territorial governments. In 2008, governments spent an average of $10,742 per Canadian aged 65 and older on healthcare costs, compared to $2,097 on those between age 1 and 64. As our population is rapidly aging, healthcare costs will also rapidly increase. And our next correspondent is our junior correspondent, Dan, who is reporting on the effects of air pollution.
Due to recent increase in life expectancy, population has experienced a dramatic boom, causing pollution in the natural environment to increase to the levels never witnessed before. Air pollution is introduction of chemicals, particulate matter, or biological materials that cause harm or discomfort to humans or other living organisms, or damages natural environment into the atmosphere. The atmosphere is a complex, dynamic, natural gaseous system that is essential to support life on the planet Earth. Causes of pollution are mainly due to the human activity, mostly related to burning different kinds of fuel. Power plants, factories, furnaces, and other fuel burning and heating devices and motor vehicles are the main causes of pollution. Okay, there are 4 major problems with air pollution. First up, we got acid rain. It causes harmful effects on plants, aquatic animals, and infrastructure through the process of wet deposition. The second problem with air pollution is hazardous air pollutants, because they cause harmful effects to human health. Next up, we got ozone depletion, which comes from UV radiation, which is generally accepted to be a contributing factor to skin cancer. In addition, increased surface UV leads to increased troposphere ozone, which is a health risk to humans. UV also affects certain crops such as rice, so they cannot grow properly. Okay, next up and final and the largest problem with air pollution is global warming. The main causes are due to burning of fossil fuels, which leads to greenhouse effect after carbon dioxide gets trapped into the atmosphere and causes the planet to warm up. Scientists predict that a 6-degree increase in temperature over a century will lead to a global wipeout. So this video was received by us thanks to the National Geographic Channel. It explains what would happen to the Earth if the temperature increased by 6 degrees. Let's take a look.
If the world warms by 6 degrees, from a distance the oceans may appear bright blue, but they are marine wastelands. Deserts march across continents like conquering armies. Natural disasters become common events. Some of the world's great cities are flooded. If the world warms by 6 degrees, from a distance the oceans may appear bright blue, but they are marine wastelands. Deserts march across continents like conquering armies. Natural disasters become common events. Some of the world's great cities are flooded and abandoned. This could be our world plus 6 degrees.
Warmings of 6 degrees over longer time periods have been associated with some of the most devastating mass extinctions which have ever taken place. So it's certainly fair to assume that if temperatures soar by 6 degrees within less than a century, that we're going to face nothing less than a global wipeout.
6 degrees of warming has been called the doomsday scenario. Our lives would never be the same again. And abandoned. This could be our world plus 6 degrees.
Warmings of 6 degrees over longer time periods have been associated with some of the most devastating mass extinctions which have ever taken place. So it's certainly fair to assume that if temperatures soar by 6 degrees within less than a century, that we're going to face nothing less than a global wipeout.
6 degrees of warming has been called the doomsday scenario. Our lives would never be the same again.
This is very dramatic information indeed. Okay, now let's take a look at the economic perspective. Let's take a look at this graph. Most air pollution derives from beneficial economic activity. Main problem is that private cause differs from social cost. Pollution has negative production externality due to social costs. This leads to a deadweight loss because the producers have to produce at the optimal quantity where the social cost equals demand, rather than where supply equals demand. And that's it with this graph. So this is Daniel reporting from 2D03. Back to you, Spence.
And this ends our special report from the 2D03 newsroom. Have a great evening.
Woo, I'm Superman!
If he were to give you directions, you'd never get lost, and you'd arrive at least 5 minutes early. His legend precedes him, the way lightning precedes thunder. He is the most interesting man in the world.
Cool story, bro.